Okay, here we go. Hi everyone. First of all, thank you all for logging into this webinar on creating a hub for young entrepreneurs. As Xavier briefly mentioned earlier, this is actually a result of research financed by Erasmus Plus, and the project itself is named EuroHub, and it's a partnership of British, Slovenian, Greek, and Bulgarian partners. Do you want to briefly talk about what we do?
So John and I work for Bridging to the Future, BTF. And Bridging is an organization that started in 2008. The founder used to be an owner of a chain of pubs, sold the chain of pubs to create an investment pub for young entrepreneurs and startups. However, now we've diversified into the field of developing and delivering training programs to inspire and advise more entrepreneurs, so that we can diversify the pool of entrepreneurs, so bring more young people, bring more women, bring more migrants, and bring more LGBT or people from disadvantaged communities to become entrepreneurs.
Yeah. Our aim today is to try and plant a seed in your head, and we want to open your mind to the potential of self-employment as a solution to unemployment and how we as people can facilitate that. Although we will provide a comprehensive presentation of what a hub is and how to create a hub and how to quality assure that hub, your participation is important and we do value any questions you have. But on today's agenda, we have us talking about what a hub is, but also before that, talk about youth unemployment in the UK and possible solutions, and talk about the hub as a solution to that. But as part of that, we'll be discussing what a hub is, what a hub needs, how to quality assure your hub, and then we'll be ending with a case study of Impact Hub, which is a co-working space around the world, and then that will be followed by a Q&A session.
So first up, youth unemployment. This is a very important issue right now in Europe. And although the figures in the UK aren't as shocking as in other countries in the EU, youth unemployment is still a cause for concern. So we define youth as people aged from 16 to 24 years. And youth unemployment right now in the UK is at 30%, while the overall unemployment rate is at 4.9%. So that means there are 590,000 young unemployed people right now in the UK. And that's a disproportionate amount of young people who are still then dependent of the government or of their own families. So as a result of this dependency, they can't make their own independent choices. And so they can't, for instance, raise a family. They can't live where they want. They can't even decide to meet up with a friend or even go on holiday. So according to employers, the main reason why they do not hire young people is due to their lack of work experience. So this means that young people are stuck in the catch-22 situation. So to become employed, a young person needs to get work experience, but they cannot get any work experience because of that very reason. That's ridiculous, isn't it? So how can we solve this problem? We believe that entrepreneurship and self-employment are a vital solution. So entrepreneurship is a great way of gaining experience and learning by doing. So it improves your skills, making you more employable in the long run. But it also is an opportunity to provide for your own future. So actually, 1 out of 3 young people think they will become self-employed. So that means a lot of us here actually do think we might become self-employed one day. And however, there is a big gap between the young people who are interested in starting up and those that actually do start up a company. And now the main causes of this gap that I'm talking about is firstly the inadequate education surrounding entrepreneurship and self-employment. But the reasons we're going to look at are related to the fear factor. And this is due to the lack of support or infrastructure. For example, a lack of place to work or facilities or even a bank account. So self-employment is very important, But young people have two problems. They can, but the young people have two problems. They lack the infrastructure and they lack the support to become self-employed. But John and I believe we've got a solution for this, and that's establishing a hub.
So, having now established that we feel hubs are a possible solution to this, you're probably wondering what a hub actually is. So, to give you an idea of what it is, a hub is a physical space that allows people from different organizations, whether they be tech startups, social enterprises, or even self-employed and entrepreneurs, individual entrepreneurs, to work in the same space. Because you share with other people, it's often a much cheaper alternative to traditional office space. But it's also more exciting than working from home, where you're on your own and you have people to bounce ideas off of and actually get quite creative. A hub thus offers a solution to the infrastructure side of the problem. However, as we've discussed, that doesn't solve the issue in its entirety. There are many co-working spaces in the UK that offer this kind of space to work in. However, for young entrepreneurs, that's often not enough. So that's why a hub needs to be more than just a co-working space. A hub must go further. A hub must serve multiple purposes within one physical location. For example, it should provide you with business incubation, allowing you your business ideas to grow and develop in a secure environment, as well as within a shared space with other people in similar positions. Community centres, allowing people like you within the local community come together and help create opportunities, whether that be creating local employment or even just using up vacant buildings in the area. A hub also creates an ecosystem that promotes entrepreneurship and innovation, allowing you to be creative in a supportive environment. And a hub also provides ready-made networks for entrepreneurs to sell products or services and also find support their business and needs.
Yeah, sorry. In other words, we can say that a hub should be a space to work and socialize. It should also have programs to help its members develop. It should be a community of like-minded individuals. And it should also host events to bring members and outside individuals and organizations together. Multifunctional.
But in order to provide this thing, a hub needs a solid base and a structure to build upon. And this is what we call the 5 Ps of building a hub. And these are physical, people, purpose, payment, and program. And if you follow each of these the infrastructures through, you should be able to create your own hub.
Cool. So let's go through the first P. First being probably the most important one, the purpose infrastructure. So purpose includes many things. Most importantly, it includes the mission statement of the hub. The mission, if you've ever taken like a marketing class, you might have heard all about it. So it's kind of like the long-term goal of the hub. So, i.e., what is the reason behind the hub? Then the focus is also part of the purpose. So who is the hub aimed for? Then the values are also very important. So the values determine how the hub operates. For example, should clarity in the hub be an important value, or an ambitious approach be an important value? Then another very important part of the purpose is to be transparent. That means that every applicant has to be honest and has to be transparent government within the hub itself. Which are also very important in purpose. Goals are more short-term in comparison to the mission. So, for instance, potential goal for a hub. Then a hub must have its drivers. So what motivates the hub? Then finally, the hub must look at its future. What does the hub want to become? Always innovating itself.
The second P is the physical infrastructure. So this refers to what the space will actually look like. There are many aspects to consider in this, as this will ultimately affect the overall success of the hub. For instance, the choice of location is really important. So you need to ask questions such as, is it easily accessible by public transport? Is there parking? Is there cycle storage nearby? A lot of people will be put off joining the hub if it's just inconvenient to get to. Similarly, you need to think about providing things such as tea and coffee, printing services, and even showers. These are all minor aspects, but will affect the overall experience of people joining the hub. Additionally, as a hub is meant to be inclusive, the building should also be accessible to people with disabilities, for instance. Therefore, you'll then need to go through and make sure that there are lifts and ramps for wheelchair access, as well as something like an accessible toilet for people to use.
Yeah. So now the third P, it's a bit cheesy, but it's very important, considers the people within the hub. So the hub will revolve around two sets of people, the hub members and the hub operators. However, it is vital that these two groups are not kept separate, but actually feeding. So, on one hand, we've got the hub operators, and these are the people that govern the actual space. Therefore, they are in charge of events, the growth, and the maintenance. On the other hand, we have the hub members. These can be young entrepreneurs, self-employed, and startups that actually use the space. However, the hub members, they should have an input in decisions regarding the hub, such as the programs the hub will offer, or the redecoration space, or any other example. Now, similarly, the hub operators should also be the ones that use the facilities provided by the hub. So, for instance, being a hub operator could be a part-time job, whilst they also focus on developing their own business. So in many cases, this would be beneficial, as they would be able to understand the needs of the hub members and could meet those needs better.
Now, in order to fulfill the hub's potential with more than just a workspace, it should also offer a strong set of programs to its members, and this constitutes the fourth P, and that's the program infrastructure. So this can be broadly categorized into three sections, those by the hub, those with the hub, and those at the hub. So the events at the hub can be simple social events such as film nights and movie nights and things like that, getting the members together and socializing. The events with the hub can be in partnership with different organizations such as a university. And those at the hub are events put on using the space and using the knowledge and know-how of the businesses within that space. So that could, for instance, be a business accelerator. Again, the content of these programs will vary depending on the actual purpose of the hub. So, for instance, if the hub has more in mind more tech companies, they may wish to partner with the IT and engineering departments of the university and put on events more geared towards tech. That can change depending on the purpose.
Now for payment. We've covered the 4 Ps, purpose, physical space, programs. But a hub must also be financially sustainable, and that's the final P, the payment structure, and that's also extremely important. However, there are several ways on which a hub can be financially sustainable. So, for instance, when establishing the hub, you can look at various opportunities through private funding. Crowdfunding can be very useful in this instance, with platforms like Kickstarter or Indiegogo. There are plenty of people willing to support projects with a mission. Now, similarly, private investment is also an option in this regard. There are individuals with an interest in the local area and in the development, and they may be willing to support a hub project. Especially if these individuals are business owners that are looking for a working space, actually. Then finally, sponsorship and donations from larger funds are also another option. Some large companies, such as Cadbury, Cadbury is a chocolate company, who have interests or history in a particular area have charitable arms, and they would be willing to invest in community projects. Now, in terms of financing the operation of the hub, so the day-to-day work of the hub, there are possibilities through both private and public contracts, grants, and subsidies. They offer possibilities for the hub and could lead to further opportunities and interesting projects. Another option would be to open a kind of bar or cafe, so that external people can use the facilities for a drink or for work and pay for it. And this would contribute. But yeah, obviously a most reliable form of income would be from membership fees from the hub members. Whilst this could put people off, it also increases their stake in the hub itself. A tiered membership system would allow different options depending on the requirements of the people and their uses. So for instance, people who would only use the space for, let's say, 50 hours a month should pay less than someone who uses the space from 9 to 5, 5 days a week. So yeah, the key to financing a hub is to make it independent. So becoming reliant on outside resources or finance kind of endangers the hub's mission. While grants and donations, they can seem like they seem like great ways to finance a hub, they're ultimately unsustainable. So a hub needs to be able to generate its own income. This makes it self-sufficient and will allow a hub to focus on making its physical space, the people, the programs, and the purpose that the hub wants without any sort of compromise.
Okay, so now we're going to talk about how you can quality assure your hub. But first of all, some of you may be asking, what is quality assurance? And in brief, it's a method to ensure that the services your hub provides are up to standard. And why is it important, you might be thinking? It's actually very important, as it allows you to analyze yourself and your hub and enables you to create and operate a hub that adheres to your mission and that of its members. Our quality assurance model uses an easy-to-use 3 questions that can ensure the creation of the hub follows a user and mission-orientated approach. The questions are designed to be applied to every decision you'll make in the creation of your hub, from big decisions such as the introduction of a new program to the smallest details such as the tables you will select for the space.
The first question in our 3Q model for quality assurance is, what is the purpose of this? So question 1 ensures that the element that's being quality assured has a reason to exist and that it's meeting its expectations. So for example, one element you might be quality assuring is the Wi-Fi. So the question in this circumstance would be, what's the purpose of the Wi-Fi? So in this case, the answer would be to enable hub users to develop their businesses and grow their knowledge through the internet. Now, maybe a more complicated example would be, what is the purpose of our entrepreneurship accelerator program? And now the purpose here would be to develop the competency of young people and help them grow their network to launch their own businesses.
So the second question in our model focuses on the audience, and the question is, who is it for and are they satisfied? This question encourages the hub creators to think about who will actually be using the space or the bit in it. In this manner, people's needs can be assessed. This may give rise to other questions such as, is it serving the right people and is it actually satisfying their specific needs? It's especially useful in encouraging service users to join in the reviewing and redesigning of any of the hub's offerings. This is because it will reduce the amount of assumptions made when assessing the members' needs. An example for this can be, who is the Wi-Fi for and are they satisfied? So the Wi-Fi is for members, guests, and people just coming into the hub and using the hub facility so they can connect to the internet. They'll probably be satisfied if the speed is good and consistent, if they can access it easily, and if it goes down, it's back up quickly.
So the final question in our quality assurance 3Q model is, does this fit with the mission of the hub? So question 3 is a key question that should be a guide to all elements, conversations, decisions, and actions of the hub. So if something doesn't fit with the mission in the hub, then it quite simply shouldn't be taking place. So an example of something that should be questioned, for instance, would be, should we raise our membership prices? And the answer would be, maybe. When we created the hub, we wanted to provide a useful space for people to work at a price accessible to all. Raising the price would mean that less fortunate people, and possibly the most in need, would lose out. Another thing you might question would be, should we charge members for printing? And an answer here could be, charging members for printing would allow us to keep membership prices lower, and there would be a fairer balance between those who use the printer and those who don't. So now to wrap up, going back to the 2 problems that we identified about self-employment, the lack of infrastructure and the lack of support, the 5 Ps, which were people, physical space, program, purpose, and payment, and the 3Q model, both of these 2 models combined will ensure that a hub helps entrepreneurs with the physical infrastructure as well as the continuous support, so that any person can have an idea and then make it into a sustainable organization or company.
Okay, so we're now going to try and ground all this kind of theoretical concepts in a bit of reality by using a case study. And we're going to be using Impact Hub as an example. So the first Impact Hub opened in central London in about 2005, and it was located on the top floor of an old warehouse. And it's a fairly good example of kind of the spirit of grassroots entrepreneurship and the spirit that was then carried through to the Impact Hub around the world. Everything in the space was built from scratch, and the space was designed to provide a collaborative environment in which people could work, meet, and learn within a modular kind of structure. For instance, in terms of the decoration, it featured leaf-shaped tables that allowed for flexible co-working, a semi-open meeting room where people could hold workshops, a secluded library for quiet thinking, and a community kitchen where people could hold small meetings over lunch or coffee. There were no assigned workstations, so a user could sit next to a different member every time they came into the hub. The main idea was just to create a place people would meet by chance and then develop relationships. This idea has then spread, and it's kind of created a global movement to create impact hubs in more than 45 cities around the world. The community is rapidly growing in a way that is connected globally, but also each one is embedded in the local culture. Each hub operates independently, but under the shared name Impact Hub, sharing the same goal and social impact. The creators actually set out to create spaces that borrow the best bits from different environments. So a prototyping lab, a startup incubator, and a particularly inspiring office, a learning space, and a think tank. And they wanted to create a unique ecosystem for social innovation. Spaces with all the tools needed to grow and develop new ventures for sustainable impact by providing access to the right experience, knowledge, networks, finance, and markets. But above all, spaces for meaningful encounters, exchange and inspiration, full of diverse people doing interesting things. But looking at Impact Hub through the lens of the 5 Ps, every Impact Hub shares the same purpose that is at the heart of everything they do. They're about creating a space to enable people to enact social change through the work they do inside the hub. As well as this, the physical appearance of each hub is unique and distinct. There are no 2 hubs the same, and that's a deliberate effort on that part. The hubs are also a reflection of their purpose. For instance, the hubs on the west coast of the US are sleek and polished, reflecting the high number of tech companies based in them. On the other hand, the Impact Hub in Islington has much more shabby chic design and reflects its environment. Overall, Impact Hub is about people. The decisions made are made with the interests of the members and the hub operators, and they work together to create a pleasant workspace and are both equally influential. The hub operators are actually known as hosts, and they are responsible for greeting people on entry to the hub, as well as the general administration of the members. However, they also have the opportunity to use the space and the connections within it to work on their own projects. Similarly, members are able to use the spaces in the hub to organise activities based on their speciality, which could include lunchtime brainstorming sessions or morning breakfast. The members are allowed and encouraged to become an ingrained part of the hub. This also leads nicely on to how Impact Hub addresses the fourth P, the program infrastructure. So each Impact Hub has a slightly different program. It depends on a number of factors, such as the size of the space to put on events, the speciality of the people within the hubs, both members and operators, as well as the location. For example, if it's surrounded by a number of universities, there will be a high number of events involving universities and university students. Events can be advertised across the Impact Hub network, and the space can be used by non-members for their own events. Finally, while the payment structure is similar amongst the hubs, the actual cost differs, as does what is involved in the price. This is decided by the individual hubs themselves and takes into consideration all the other factors. Each hub is financially independent, able to generate enough income to support themselves and keep true to their mission. So that sums up the case study. Hopefully this has cleared up some of the 5 Ps and how they work in reality. And this kind of wraps up our webinar today. We hope you found it relatively enjoyable and interesting and useful. We'd now like to invite you to ask any questions you might have. If you give us a second, we'll just unmute people.
I think you can unmute people from this. Yeah, or if you have any stories to share about your experiences as a self-employed person or working in the hub, that'd be really valuable as well. So, yeah, maybe we can share our experience here in the Impact Hub Islington. Sure. Yeah. So this. Oh. This is the Impact Hub Islington. This was the very first Impact Hub that was founded, I think, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And we're at the top of a 5-story building. The other floors are art exhibitions. There's no lift or anything, so it's quite remote. And, yeah, so here we host events every lunchtime and some afternoon. Well, for instance, last week we had a Christmas party that arranged together, and as we said before, the events are also for people and members outside the group, outside the hub. We brought people, for instance, the artists from downstairs or from other co-working spaces in London, or other Impact Hubs as well in London, because there are 4, I think. So yeah.
Well, if there aren't any questions here now, we're more than happy to respond to any questions you might have by email. So our email address is there. If you've got any questions, feel free to send us an email and we'll do our best to answer them as fully as you can. If there aren't any questions here, I suppose that kind of just about wraps up the webinar then.
And yeah, we'll also send you the presentation as well, so you have it engraved in your mind.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you very much for attending, and Merry Christmas.
Merry.
Great.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
And goodbye.
Thank you, Xavier.
Thank you, Mike.